the camera's flashed. Well, actually, in this case, the sun is glinting off an Italian lake.
Right.
The crowd freezes, and the tension is just so thick you could cut it with a bespoke knife. And just like that, Hollywood has a new obsession because Guy Ritchie's Netflix crime thriller gets an official return date.
It is a massive moment for fans.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we are doing a deep dive into the absolute madness that is Season 2 of The Gentleman.
Yeah, the aristocratic weed farmers have left the rainy English countryside.
Exactly. And stepping onto the global stage might just be the deadliest mistake they've ever made.
I mean, it is a profound shift from the muddy fields of the Halstead estate. And to really understand the architecture of this upcoming season, we are synthesizing a stack of entertainment reporting.
Right. We've got sources from Collider, what's on Netflix, the news. Just watch.
And we also have some really critical soundtrack details from Radio Times.
Which we will definitely get into.
Yes.
So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack the mechanics of this evolution. We're looking at this remarkably fun, slightly chaotic series about an aristocrat who, accidentally inherits an underground cannabis empire.
As one does.
Right, as one does. But based on the source material, that quirky, localized operation is transforming into this sprawling, highly volatile international crime syndicate.
Yeah, and we need to explore the why and the how behind this transformation, just so you are fully calibrated for where this story is heading.
Because the landscape has fundamentally changed.
Totally. When a debut season captures the cultural zeitgeist the way this one did, the creative temptation is usually just to play it safe.
Oh, for sure. You replicate the exact pacing, the same localized jokes, the familiar environments.
Right. But the showrunners are actively resisting that greatest hits approach. I mean, Theo James, who plays Eddie Horniman, he explicitly stated in a recent interview that the upcoming season is deliberately constructed to be bigger and darker.
Bigger and darker. Which means this isn't just like a cosmetic upgrade. They are completely rewriting the operational DNA of the show.
Yeah.
And they're signaling this by physically pulling the characters out of their comfort zones. The production moved a significant chunk of the story to the ultra-luxurious Lake Maggiore.
Wow.
Yeah, specifically filming in Verbania, which is this lakeside town in the Piedmont region that bridges Italy and Switzerland.
Which is gorgeous, but Guy Ritchie released a statement describing this as a deliberate expansion both geographically and thematically.
Right.
But the crucial element here is understanding the mechanics of what losing the home field advantage actually means for a criminal enterprise.
Oh, definitely.
In the first season, Eddie was operating within his own domain. Even when he was surrounded by terrifying underworld figures, he knew the layout of his estate.
He had the home turf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He understood the unwritten gentlemanly agreements of British gangsterism. He likely had local law enforcement or community figures comfortably in his pocket.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think about it through a corporate lens. It's like a highly successful, scrappy tech startup that has been operating out of a garage.
An aristocratic, multi-million-dollar garage, but yeah, still isolated.
Right, exactly. They have total control of their localized supply chain.
Yeah.
So moving to the Italian lakes is the equivalent of this startup abruptly going public on the global stage.
And in the criminal underworld, an IPO comes with a terrifying set of new stakeholders.
Bingo. When you take a company public, you answer to a board of directors, international regulators, global competitors.
Yeah, the stakes are way higher.
So translated to The Gentleman, going public in Europe means stepping into an arena with entrenched cartels, older money, sophisticated syndicates.
They aren't just dealing with a rival gang from the next town over anymore.
No, not at all. They are dealing with organizations where a hostile takeover is a literal assassination.
You've hit on the exact mechanism of the tension there. The safety net is just entirely gone.
Go on.
You introduce language barriers, unfamiliar terrain, and a European syndicate landscape where grudges span generations. The violence isn't a pub brawl or a shotgun on a country lane.
All right.
It is coordinated, high-finance corporate espionage with lethal consequences.
And that's not even the wildest part, because wait until you hear what is happening internally with the family.
Oh, it gets so messy.
But surviving an Italian syndicate and attempting a European expansion isn't something Eddie can do in a vacuum. Expanding a business that rapidly puts a staggering amount of structural stress on your internal foundation.
Right. If you're fighting a war abroad, your leadership back home has to be airtight.
Exactly. Which brings us to a severe fracture in the power dynamics of the operation.
Yeah, the narrative tension is tightening significantly around the original patriarch. The plot for the new season picks up a year after Eddie and Susie Glass, played by Caio Scodelario, cemented their alliance to run the empire.
And they are aggressively pushing for this overseas growth.
They are. But the official Netflix logline reveals a critical roadblock, and that is Bobby Glass,
The big boss.
the founder of the syndicate. And he is reportedly making increasingly unsound and unpredictable decisions.
Which puts Eddie and Susie in an agonizing position. The logline actually features this incredibly ominous warning. It says, unfettered ambition never ends well.
That is so chilling.
Right. It implies they're actually considering a coup against the boss.
What's fascinating here is that it's a timeless exploration of generational wealth and succession. This is the perilous tipping point where the new guard's desperate desire for modernization collides directly with the old guard's paranoia.
It really is.
In a criminal enterprise, the old guard never simply retires to play golf. They hold onto the steering wheel until their knuckles bleed.
That is such a vivid way to put it.
And when paranoia sets in at the top, loyalty suddenly becomes a liability.
But I have to push back on the logic of Eddie and Susie's ambition here, though.
Okay, why?
If we look at the mechanics of how Bobby Glass built this empire from nothing, he is the definition of an apex predator.
Oh, absolutely.
So isn't attempting to unseat him essentially corporate suicide? I mean, their ambition seems to be blinding them. Why would they assume a man who outsmarted the entire British underworld for decades wouldn't see a coup coming from a mile away?
That is the structural barrier of paranoia we were talking about, and it is the exact question the show wants the audience wrestling with.
Okay.
Is Bobby Glass actually experiencing a cognitive decline, or is this a meticulously designed stress test?
Oh, like he is faking it.
Exactly. He might be feigning weakness specifically to see if his lieutenants will bite. For Eddie and Susie, every operational move is a gamble with their lives.
Wow.
They are forced to operate in a state of constant, suffocating high alert because the man signing the checks might also be the one digging their graves.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists and this deep dive into the gentleman, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
You definitely want to stick around for this next part.
Because they are squeezed between ruthless European syndicates abroad and a potentially treacherous boss at home. To survive that kind of dual-front war, you can't just rely on a small, insular circle.
No, you have to mutate your network.
Right. And this necessitates bringing an entirely new breed of criminal cis into the ecosystem, which is exactly what we're seeing with the casting announcements.
The scale and variety of the casting for this upcoming season is truly staggering. I mean, the heavy hitters are returning, of course. Theo James, Caio Scodelario, Daniel Ings as Freddy.
Freddy is hilarious.
So good. Vinnie Jones as Jeff the groundskeeper, and Giancarlo Esposito returning as the exceptionally dangerous Stanley Johnston.
The Chicken Man himself.
Exactly. But the production has integrated 13 entirely new faces into the syndicate.
13. That's a massive influx. And the composition of these new faces is where the strategy gets fascinating. You have esteemed, classically trained actors like Hugh Bonneville.
Widely known for Downton Abbey.
Right. You have Benjamin Clementine from Dune. You have prominent Italian talent like Benedetta Porcaroli and Michele Moroni, which anchors the authenticity of the Lake Maggiore setting.
It grounds the European side of things.
But then the casting just veers into wildly unpredictable territory. Television presenter Maya Jama is making her acting debut.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
There's a snippet in the trailer where Eddie asks her, "How do you do?" And she delivers this ice-cold, "I do very well."
It's such a great delivery.
And alongside her, we have professional boxer Chris Eubank Jr. stepping into the narrative.
A literal boxer. Ritchie explicitly noted that Eddie and Susie are being besieged by an influx of enigmatic new players. And this roster, visually and culturally, demonstrates exactly what he meant.
It feels like mixing highly volatile chemicals in a laboratory to see what catches fire.
Yeah.
You aren't just assembling a cast, you are combining completely different frequencies of human behavior.
The alchemy analogy is perfect. This is a deeply ingrained mechanism in Guy Ritchie's directorial playbook.
Really? How so?
Well, if you populate a crime thriller entirely with seasoned character actors who specialize in playing mobsters, the audience subconsciously relaxes. We know the rhythm of a standard procedural. We know how the veteran actor is going to deliver a threat.
Because it's a known element. It is stable.
Exactly. But when you introduce a highly reactive element, like a professional boxer whose physical presence and cadence are entirely unpolished, or a television host who brings a hyper-awareness of performance, you disrupt the established rhythm. You put the classically trained Shakespearean actor in a scene with the raw, untrained energy of a fighter, and the resulting friction creates genuine on-screen anxiety.
Because no one knows what's going to happen.
Right. The established characters don't know how to read these new variables, and crucially, neither does the viewer.
That friction perfectly mirrors the precarious power dynamics of the story. The IPO into Europe has brought in stakeholders who don't speak the same language, literally and metaphorically. But later in the deep dive, we'll talk about a shocking twist with Guy Ritchie's actual real-life schedule that nobody saw coming. Because to keep these volatile chemical reactions from just exploding and destroying the narrative, you need a rigid, masterful structure holding the beaker together.
Which requires incredibly precise architecture behind the camera. When a show expands its cast and geography this aggressively, pacing becomes the ultimate vulnerability.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's dig into the mechanics of that architecture. We are looking at an 8-episode season with runtimes clocking in at roughly 63 minutes per episode.
That is a substantial commitment for a high-octane thriller.
It really is. And Guy Ritchie is at the helm, but his current workload is, frankly, astronomical.
It's insane.
In this exact same production window, he is directing this series, helming the Young Sherlock show for Amazon, finishing a feature film called In the Gray, prepping wife and dog, and working on Fountain of Youth.
It is a dizzying slate of projects for one creator.
It really makes you wonder about the structural integrity of the show. When an auteur is spread that thin across multiple sprawling universes, is there a risk of the specific delicate ecosystem of The Gentleman collapsing under its own weight?
It's a valid concern.
Like, does the Ritchie formula become diluted when he is treating this as just one of 5 massive priorities?
That is a critical vulnerability in the industry. We see showrunners overextend and lose the thread all the time. However, analyzing the production details reveals the specific safeguards they've implemented to prevent that dilution.
Okay, what kind of safeguards?
The primary mechanism is strategic delegation. Ritchie isn't attempting to micromanage every frame. He is directing alongside Aaron Creevy, who brings continuity from the first season.
Nice.
But they have also recruited a newcomer to the universe, Nick Rowland, to helm episode 7.
Bringing in an outside director for a late-season episode is an interesting move. What does Rowland bring to the table?
Rowland is celebrated for directing incredibly tense, suffocatingly gritty films like Calm with Horses. By handing him the reins near the climax of the season, Ritchie is injecting a hungry, aggressive, new energy into the visual language.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It prevents the aesthetic from becoming stale or complacent. Ritchie is operating less as a frantic micromanager and more as the conductor of a highly specialized orchestra.
And speaking of the orchestra, we have to look at the literal sonic landscape, because it acts as the glue for this entire sprawling operation.
Yes, the music.
Christopher Benstead is returning as the composer.
His contribution cannot be overstated. A 63-minute episode of a crime thriller is a dangerously long runtime. If the tempo sags for even 10 minutes, you lose the audience's adrenaline.
Which means the music isn't just background noise. It is a mechanical driver for the plot. In the first season, Benstead utilized this operatic, driving score that contrasted brilliantly with eclectic tracks from artists ranging from Ella Fitzgerald to Koji Radical.
It gave the series an undeniable swagger.
It really did. But as the narrative shifts to this bigger and darker European arena, the auditory experience has to shift with it.
When a script becomes heavier, the music has to dictate the audience's physical reaction to those stakes. You won't just intellectually understand that Eddie is in danger. Benstead's propulsive rhythm ensures you feel the dread vibrating in the bass line.
That is so intense.
The combination of Rowland's gritty visual execution and Benstead's suffocating audio design guarantees that the darker tone is experienced on a sensory level.
It physically prevents the audience from settling back into their chairs.
Exactly.
Every creative choice, from the jarring casting combinations to the aggressive musical tempo, is engineered to keep the viewer off balance. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the entertainment world, because we cover all these details.
They are meticulously dismantling the comfortable environment they built in the first outing.
So let's bring all these operational threads together. We are witnessing the complete evolution of the gentleman. They have outgrown the localized aristocratic garage and launched a highly dangerous IPO straight into the teeth of the Italian lakes and European syndicates.
They traded familiar threats for international corporate espionage.
The safety net is gone, replaced by a severe internal fracture as Eddie and Susie weigh the catastrophic risks of staging a coup against a paranoid patriarch.
And this entire powder keg is populated by a wildly unstable mixture of classical actors and raw, enigmatic newcomers.
It is a brilliantly constructed pressure cooker, and all of these elements will finally collide when the 8-episode season officially drops on Netflix on September 3, 2026.
This is going to be a massive event.
But as we prepare for that drop, there is a lingering strategic question that fundamentally changes how we view this upcoming conflict.
It circles back to that central warning, unfettered ambition never ends well. Throughout this analysis, the natural assumption is that Eddie and Susie are the ones wielding the ambition. We view them as the rising force, aggressively plotting to seize the throne and expand into Europe.
That's what the trailer wants us to think.
But in an ecosystem this complex, you have to continually evaluate who actually controls the board.
Are they the architects of this expansion, or are they the pawns?
Precisely. You have to ask yourself who is actually the predator and who is the prey. Are Eddie and Susie genuinely outsmarting the old guard to build their global empire? Or in their blind rush for power, are they confidently walking straight into a sprawling international trap that Bobby Glass meticulously engineered to eliminate them?
Wow. So the ambition isn't their weapon, it's the exact bait being used to catch them.
Yes.
In a world defined by paranoia and generational ruthlessness, the most lethal threat isn't the cartel gunning for you in Italy, it's the mentor offering you the keys to the kingdom.
The illusion of control is always the first step toward ruin.
That is a phenomenal, unsettling paradigm shift to leave on. Keep analyzing the mechanics of the media you consume. Always question who is actually setting the board. And remember, just because the water is sparkling in Italy doesn't mean it isn't completely infested with sharks.
Good point.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.